of the anointed, the vision of the anointed. How do the anointed refer to people they don't agree with?
All sorts of ways, but I think the main thing is they believe that you're not really in error but in sin. In other words, they can't believe that you're just mistaken. You must have sold out. You must have walked about you.
Do people think you sold out because you're conservative?
Oh, some do. Some do. I'm always fascinated with that phrase. First time I heard it was at Cornell University, and I attacked the president of Cornell University on the front page.
Thank you for listening to the Nubian Comedic Spectrum Incorporated channel. Right now, I am in thought by watching this commentary of featuring Thomas Sowell with Roger Allies. I like Mr. Sowell. I don't agree with everything, and I kept saying clarity, no, Sandy Darity. I'm more Sandy Darity. I'm kind of 50-50 with both Sowell and Darity. And here's the reason why, real quick. People like Sowell don't speak for the poor black community. And I hate to sound cliche. I'm going to sound cliche a lot. But if I walked in his shoes, I understand his point more, and I think I do understand his point and his position. See, he has a position in society, okay? And I keep telling black folks, people ain't gonna go against that, I'm just gonna go and say it, the Illuminati. People ain't gonna go against their fraternal orders to help and to be compassionate to any need of poor black. We are the commodities. We are the ones, not just any black person that come here, but the ADOS, the American descendants of slavery here in America, the lineage, our ancestry that actually built wealth for this country. We do not have a voice for us other than ADOS. I'm sorry, but I'm talking about we need more representation. And I'm not saying ADOS is the only pro-black agenda out there, but by large, you can practically say there is no, up until ADOS, there is no good representation for the real black struggle, our lineage, people speaking for our descendants, our ancestry, both here in this country, in Turtle Island, and from Africa. But when I hear Mr. Sowell talk, his experiences don't match mine. And so his experience to me don't match a lot of poor black people. But you can learn a lot from him. He is a wealth of information. People quit thinking because we don't, black people especially, but anybody, quit thinking because pro-black people don't fall for the Democrat. We're not supporting, just supporting Dems out of control and being bullied and tricked and coerced, that we're strictly for Republicans. Candace Owens and Kanye's don't speak for the black community. You can get information from them. They are educated. I'm not talking about Kanye, I'm talking about people like Candace and their situation, but people like Candace and Roland Martin, when it comes to the pro-black agenda, the pro-black community, they are the same. And again, people like Mr. Sowell, I don't know if he's an enemy or ally for the pro-black community, but he, to me, don't match a lot of our gripes and our concerns. He deals with statistics, and again, he has a position in life. Him and Milton Friedman didn't always agree on everything, but they have a camaraderie because Milton Friedman is an iconic figure for Mr. Sowell. And the guy that did the documentary on Mr. Sowell, honestly, you educated, You understand some things, but you don't get it. And you or a lot of your constituents do not understand the pro-black community. I don't hear y'all speaking on ADOS tone talks. And that's not all we have, but I use them because they make themselves so available and they are so ready. But people like Mr. Sowell, I don't hear much of that. I don't hear much of that from now. Mr. Darity, yes. Cornel West, shout out to Mr. Cornel West. He will, give ADOS his props, and I think he supports us at least conceptually, which is fine. But unless you understand the camaraderie and the position people like Mr. Sowell in and so many elitist blacks, you will understand that we have to go right past them. They do not speak by large. They can speak on some things. 1619 Project, Hannah Nicole Jones. I don't support that. We don't need Hannah Nicole Jones. Look at who she support. She support NAACP, BIPOC, BLM. We don't need that type of mindset. Keep on tricking us, black community. So many elitists rely on Hollywood boulets to, blur the lines. They are tricking us and misleading us by large. So this is why I do what I do. I'm not trying to I'm not concerned about making friends. I'm not concerned about right now my situation, my health and financial situation. I am trying to be a voice and inspiration for the pro-black community, particularly just the pro-black community, but the youth. I want something to kick in because it is so much against them. The 30s and under, it is so much against them. It's almost like they don't have a chance because there's so much conditioning done. Y'all, I do support Dr. Shauna Eteen. Check her out. And Dr. Shauna Eteen and Mike Imhotep. Check them out, but please support ADOS. And for the FBA people, shame on them for supporting its founder because of whatever personal reason or business. But if you always to expose his work and what he done and let the black community decide and see, then we'll see how much they'll be willing to support that knockoff of a black agenda organization, which is the FBA. I'm not talking about the original, the origin of the FBA. Don't get it twisted. I'm talking about the FBA now that's ran by Tariq Nasheed and also Dr. Boyce Watkins is a participant of it and probably a board in a board region of it. So I sick of hypocrisy, y'all. I am sick of hypocrisy. That is why I'm doing what I do. It's a lot of things that's conflicting us and that's against us. Start doing y'all research, even the intelligent black people. There's new irrefutable research out there. And particularly start studying the history of this country, this United States, Turtle Island. Start studying that. Black people, I think you'll be interested to know y'all birthrights and why y'all have it, why we have it. Throughout the Americas and the West Indies, why we have birthrights. These light-skinned Spanish, some of them is trying to not uphold their old customs and their old traditions and their old teachings. But y'all not black. Y'all derived from Aboriginal. Y'all derived from African. Y'all stole and took from African. Mostly everything from y'all past is from us and by us and through us, but y'all are not us. Y'all are colonized. There is DNA research. Y'all lie Spanish and French and American. Y'all lie indigenous. And I'm talking about the Mexican, light-skinned, Mediterranean-looking Hispanics in this country. But y'all not us. Y'all not us. Just because y'all indigenous don't mean that y'all channel and lineage is through us. The real melanated aboriginals of this country. The real natives of this country. The real people that taught this country how to survive, how to make chocolate. The people of gold in South America were melanated people. What was them? Kimbaya? Quimbias? Just do the research. Those were people of gold here in the Americas, and they were melanated. So when y'all hear these, don't get intimidated of a language and skin and things of that nature. Just do your research. It'll speak for itself by volumes.
Do people think you sold out because you're conservative?
Oh, some do, some do. I'm always fascinated with that phrase. First time I heard it was at Cornell University. And I attacked the president of Cornell University on the front page of the New York Times. And when I'm selling out, who am I selling out to? I'm attacking the president of Cornell University. What brownie points will I get for that as an assistant professor on a 3-year contract?
That's not good.
No. And the other thing that always gets me is that
That don't mean much.
Sold out typically have less money than the ones who are making the accusation. Years
That's
ago,
always true.
That don't mean much because you were at odds with someone that's conservative, rich, and white. See, that's a trick. That's a slick trick, y'all. But come on, Professor Sowell, with that one.
I remember some student wrote to me and I said, what you need to do is make a list of all the blacks on your campus you think have sold out. And then make a list of those you think have stood up for the right things. And then alongside each name, put down the name and model of car that they drive. And then see if you want to reconsider what you just said.
Good point.
You know, when the
That's a
liberals
good
don't
point.
agree with people, they classify them as mean-spirited.
Pay attention.
For the rich. Let me give you some classic liberal comments about conservatives. You guys are for the rich. You guys only care about the rich guys. Answer that. How do you respond? Liberal says conservatives only care about rich people.
Well, one of the things I go into in the book is the whole notion of rich is ridiculous. That most Americans don't stay in the same income bracket, even for 1 decade. So the same guy who is, quote, rich now was 20 years ago probably the bottom 20%. I mean, I was on a cruise recently, luxury cruise, and the guy said, you know, if somebody had told me when I was growing up that I would end up on a cruise like this, I would have said, get real, man. You know, that very few people are in that same income bracket the whole time. The genuinely rich and the genuinely poor, I would estimate to be no more than 3% of the American people.
Really?
Put together.
Really?
Yes.
Genuinely poor. Now, I'm seeing numbers like when they were talking about health care, they said, 30 million people couldn't afford it or something?
Several million of those were making more than $50,000 a year. So it's not, see, this is one of the things that you know they do. They never believe that people make choices. There are people who have the money, they prefer to put that money into a BMW rather than have
A lot of young people didn't want health care. They were betting on their health.
Absolutely. And this allows them to buy more stuff that they want to buy. So it's not a question they couldn't afford it. It's a question they don't choose to spend the money.
Okay. That's why I made the statement in the comment that I made earlier. You have to walk in certain people's shoes. You can't speak for everyone because you have statistics, you're intelligent, and you're black, and you're really intelligent, Mr. Sowell. But you don't understand the derivatives of a lot of situations, and you're not speaking for the power a lot of times when you make your claims and show your proof when you have your statistics ready for your arguments and your rhetoric. I would like to see you be more with the pro-black community agenda. You have spoken on behalf of our community, but I don't know how much you support our community. And I want to show something at the end of this commentary, I want to show something to y'all. And I'm going to follow up what I show y'all. I'm following up on the statement earlier I made about Hispanic people. My opinion about Hispanic people.
They're mean-spirited. They're bigots. They don't like people.
Well, you know, one of the things I tell people say, you know, you're a very tough person. I'm not tough. Life is tough. I'm really trying to acquaint you with those facts.
What kind
Life
of
is tough.
Tough?
Well, now, I've never done a poll among my children.
Poor people.
No.
I went to Harlem in
The Anointed, my perception, I haven't read the book, is it's not just a Republican or Democratic thing, but it's black elites speaking for the blacks. And the government speaking for, I guess, poor blacks or dictating the poor Americans.
And running these programs makes those some.
But correct me, all comments, respectful comments, I appreciate it, but this is a pro-black channel.
Talk about fixing them. So everybody voted for these programs. You go up there today, you've got the same problem.
Oh, yeah, you've got them worse in most places. The tragedy you see is that the anointed really want to make symbolic statements. And running these programs makes those symbolic statements. They don't really care if in the wake of affirmative action, for example, companies start locating away from minority communities so they won't get involved in legal action. They don't care about that. They've made their statement on the side of the enemy, and that's what's important.
Have you ever debated Jesse Jackson?
No, I haven't.
Is that because, would you like to, or would he not want to do that?
I have no idea. I'm not in here. Jesse Jackson all the way.
Right.
So everything depends upon the forum.
Is Jesse Jackson good for African Americans?
No. He's good for himself.
Good for himself.
And that's true of most
I agree.
In most groups, in most countries, in most periods of history.
Is Jesse Jackson good for African Americans?
No. He's good for himself.
Good for himself.
And that's true. So everything depends upon the forum.
Is Jesse Jackson good for African Americans?
No. He's good for himself.
Good for himself.
And that's true of most ethnic leaders in most groups, in most countries, in most periods of history. That what will serve his interest is to keep people paranoid, dependent upon him, dependent upon government. What will serve their interest is typically just the opposite.
That's pretty interesting. So
Good
you're saying
point.
that
Good point.
Leaders, whatever group, whatever.
This is the main reason why I don't support the Dems.
As opposed to
What will serve his interest is to keep people paranoid, dependent upon him, dependent upon government. What will serve their interest is typically just the opposite.
That's pretty interesting. So you're saying that the leaders, whatever group, wants the people to be poor and dependent on them as opposed to dependent on themselves.
Oh, absolutely. And I can see this in the greatest cynicism in the academic world, where in many places, black organizations on campus have a say on who gets admitted. And they have turned down blacks with excellent credentials, both as students and as faculty members, for that very reason.
All right,
Yes.
Let's take a break again. Thomas Sowell will be right back. We're talking about the vision of...
Yes. I'm going to throw it out there. Rich, elitist black peoples do cherry pick. There's not all fair and compassionate, impartial. They are all hooked up in groups, in fraternities, sororities. They're not studying us. The elitists got our elitists. That's the camaraderie we're fighting against. Some of the things Mr. Sowell said I agree with, very little I don't, because I know better.
What do you think the chances are of Clinton getting reelected, though? He seems to be holding steady at about what he got. He needs an independent candidate.
Yes, that'll help him a lot. I think his chances are dangerously high.
Mm-hmm.
This is over, pay
In the
attention.
sense that not only will he be as bad in the second term as in the first term, but worse, because in the first term, whenever he tried to go far left and things went bad against him, he would dump the people like Monty Guinier.
He did everything.
He dumped them, you see. But in the second term, he wouldn't have to do that because he has nothing at stake anymore. He could load the place up with people of that sort. The people around him are clearly the anointed. I mean, you hear Robert Reich talking about how he's going to rebuild the labor force as if he were a carpenter and they were just pieces of wood.
Right.
You know, when you talk about reinventing government and all this kind of high-flown nonsense.
Talking about the dams during the Clinton administration.
On the federal bench, they'd be there decades after he's gone.
You know, it's amazing. You've had so much education, and yet a lot of the anointed are the educated types, the ones who've been
Right.
college professors, right?
That's true. Typically in the non-scientific areas.
Social,
All sociology, history, humanities haven't helped us.
yeah. Who are the mascots of the anointed? You talk about the mascots of the anointed.
There are people whom they choose to back and whose rights are supposed to override other people's rights. The homeless are a classic example. I'm appalled when I see people out there in the street giving money to the home. I'm able-bodied men. I think one of the classic pictures to me was in San Francisco when there was this able-bodied white man out in the street begging. And there's this black lady coming along there, very modestly dressed, like she didn't have, but she's stopping to open her purse to give him some money, you know. And I thought, good heavens, have we really come to this? And we've been brainwashed by the anointed into thinking this is what we ought to do.
What do you say to guys who
Wow.
make money off them?
Not all of it can be repeated on the air.
Wow.
The fact is they don't get any money.
It's fine to donate money to people, but be careful. And it's not cool for able-bodied people and mentally and well-bodied people to
As a
take
conservative, doesn't that make you
from the
a fool?
innocent and to take advantage of people.
I'm depriving them of their booze and drugs.
That's really what you do?
Yes.
Now, would you help somebody if you knew it was going for food?
Yeah, in fact, I must confess that just recently I did give out some money to an elderly lady in St. Petersburg, Russia, because I'm told that they've been devastated by the fact that their pensions have been ruined by the inflation they've had over there. And so there are people, like that, but now we have a program.
Not an able-bodied guy walking up to you.
No, good heavens. Some of these guys look like they could be in the Olympics.
That's true. When you wrote this,
But you need currency.
what were you trying to accomplish?
It's not a sexual thing.
Were you nailing?
It's not about intellect, and it's not about physical.
What were you trying to say?
Being physically fit.
Reveal the thinking behind that, the kinds of assumptions, the kind of world that exists inside.
Thank you, Yvette Carnell.
Why those assumptions are so dangerous in the long run. It's not just the policies mentioned in that.
They think they're better than everybody else.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question. And that's what makes them dangerous. Even all the policies that are mentioned there, 20 years from now, those policies may not be the policies we're concerned about. But that mindset will still be there. And what makes them tremendously dangerous is the facts that contradict what they believe are simply ignored or evaded.
Where does the
policies that are mentioned there, 20 years from now, those policies may not be the policies we're concerned about. But that mindset will still be there. And what makes them
Exactly. Glad you said that. It goes to you too, Mr. Sowell.
Are simply ignored or evaded.
Where does the press fall into this as the anointed group? Are they part of the?
Oh, absolutely. They're a major part of it because one of the reasons that people don't get many of the facts that go against
Rich Jewish people, for one.
Give me an example of something the press
Media.
might cover well.
Oh, a few years ago, there was a story about prenatal care among blacks. That black women get less prenatal care than white women. Infant mortality rate is higher among blacks. They immediately assume that one causes the other. Now, one of the things I like to do is go back to the original source and find out what it said. I went back. On the very same page where it said that, the figures showed Mexican Americans get even less prenatal care than blacks, and they have a lower infant mortality rate than whites. So prenatal care and infant mortality rate have nothing to do with each other. If you break it down further, black women who have only a high school education, but who are married, their children have lower infant mortality rates than white women who have a college education who are unwed mothers. So it's not race, it's not income, it's not education, it's lifestyle. When you live a certain way,
It's systematic, sir.
The media doesn't want to accept that. Because if you say people's lifestyles have a lot to do with the outcome, then there's no room for the anointed.
Was the civil rights movement good for the African American in all ways, or were there any downsides to it?
It was good in some ways. It was not, like most things, not good in all ways. It's a little like, a clock that stops will be right twice a day. And the liberals' assumptions worked in that particular case for a limited period. Unfortunately, along with that came many other things which destroyed law enforcement, which destroyed the family, which destroyed education. And I don't think that the things that were gained outweighed that.
Thomas Sowell. The book, get it. Thank you, Thomas Sowell. Good luck with your book.
Candy Sowell is on the right and Dr. Cornell West on the left. And we're going to try to listen to them. The second we hear a sound, we're going to get the hell out of here.
I'm gonna follow up on this. Let me show you.